Okay, welcome back. Early February 1857, and as we left off, Austria has offered another peace proposal. We ignored the last one, and they've offered a slightly poorer one, from what I can see anyway, and I still misunderstand, unless they're paying 136 each year. In any case, this time round, it's going to be a rejection as opposed to ignoring them, maybe encouraging them to be more generous, because of course it's not guaranteed that we're going to be able to take Vienna. We left off then with a bit of a spaghetti junction in terms of our plans. So the plan is, we've secured central Hungary. Omar Pasha is going to be sitting tight on the west bank of the Danube, and his forces are going to sit tight for a period of time in order to receive replacements, to improve their organisation and cohesion, and begin to prepare for a strike on Vienna. In the east, Abdul Karim Nadir is screening a possible intervention from Radetzky. Radetzky may be in Banat. He may be trying to wheel round and join the force in the north. We don't know, but he's out of view. In any case, we don't want to attack Sombor because there's a good chance if he is in Banat, he can offer support to Sombor, and there's no reason for us to kind of engage forces that are basically, we're focused on Vienna. We're focused on the centre, on the prize, and ending the war, basically. Abdul Karim's going to sit tight. He has Osman moving up to join him, because he requires some junior commanders, I think, to take command of one of the army corps. And we also have a supply detachment moving up to join him, and we've released 2 empty supply trains, and those they're going to be heading back to Sarajevo to restock. We can really see now, I think I've mentioned before, but we can really see the long-term ramifications of our kind of supply, and also our industrial military complex. It means that we produce supplies in good quantity, as well as ammunition, which stocks these up and allows us to conduct operations further afield. This is also the case. We can see, a very modest stockpile of supply munitions now, also in our colony in Yemen, which is good to see. So our supply system looks good. Looks like it's in good shape. It requires a bit of shuttling from time to time, especially during difficult weather. We can't supply these forces using railroad. Even if we hadn't destroyed the railroad in Hungary, it wouldn't have improved our supply situation very much. We're incidentally destroying the rail network also in the eastern part of Hungary, and we'll be doing the same once or if we get into Vienna. In addition to that, we've got a cavalry brigade, which we kept down in sort of Iparus. That's going to be moving north to take up position in Slavonian, just as a screening force. Possibly also a force that might be able to penetrate a little bit into the kind of hinterland, provide a bit of reconnaissance, shadow Radetzky's force, so we can at least know where he is. So we're going to move that force up. We also have a cavalry division which has been constructed at Smyrna. It's not completely finished. Its organisation is not quite there yet, but we're going to be basically moving these forces using riverine points, embarking and then disembarking at Kataro, and then they're going to march up also to Slavonian, possibly to join one of these armies or screen or something like this. That is pretty much it. That's our military moves planned. Hussein's holding tight on the left. Support corps as a part of Hussein's army is securing Zagreb, or has secured Zagreb, and the rest we've addressed. There are no other military moves. We've got the main fleet heading up into, I beg your pardon, we've got the reserve fleet, or the raiding fleet if you like, moving back to Smyrna. And the main fleet is not moving yet. We're going to move the main fleet next turn. Right, that's it. The economy has kind of been set. The next construction, there's no other military issues going on. Nothing going on in Libya. Our kind of colonial anti-insurgency force, if you like, under Zarif Mustafa is not activated, but it's got supplies. Its force is in good shape. The situation in Iraq has been dealt with. The last construction that we built, of course, was dyes quarry. We've begun the construction of a dyes quarry in Lebanon. We have got an eye on the fact that dyes are a really, really good export commodity, and we're sort of basically selling more than we're producing. The next thing we're going to build is we're going to begin our first coal extraction site, our first mine, if you like. That's going to be in Smyrna. We already have railroads in Smyrna, so it'll begin, and once finished construction, it'll begin extracting coal at a pretty decent rate of efficiency. And then after that, we're going to start looking to expand our railroad into Zonderlook and Ankara, and then ultimately out to Sinop. that's the next plan really. Coal mine, railroad, and also coal mines in Ankara and Zonderlook, because our industry now is large enough that it far outstrips the crafts production of coal, and we're importing coal. In fact, our fortnightly import of coal is set to 15 units, and that's only giving us one additional per turn, so that's a lot of imports. Very, very quickly that's built up, plus 8 units of iron. So we need to start looking to support our burgeoning kind of industrial economy with the kind of raw materials necessary as best we can anyway, in terms of what access we have to them. And we've got decent enough access to coal to begin with anyway. That's it. Our exports have been set. Assets balance is good. All domestic demands are met. 2% inflation. We're going to put you on pause past turn, and we'll see you early Feb. So we'll see you in late Feb 57. See you on the other side. Okay, we're back then, late February, and no battles. An ominously quiet fortnight. No battles in this war, but we have seen some movement and some redeployments here, and this is looking significant. We now have a commander that's made an appearance on the left at Crane, and it's a pretty considerable force. He's got a command penalty. I'm guessing he's going to move down towards Zagreb. If he moves towards Fiume, that could be different. He's got a really, really large reserve that he can draw on here. These forces combined, I mean, they could comprise more than 200,000 troops. So this is now a threat. We're going to reinforce Crane with the partially reconstructed, for the most part reconstructed, reserve corps under Salim Pasha. That will leave us with 2 army corps supported by both Omar and Hussein Avni. The hope is he pushes for the centre, which would be a strategic mistake, but may do that looking at the centre as a bit of a soft target. An additional army corps is going to take 6 days, plus we've got one there. That should buy us a bit of time, and they're going to have to hold out for, I don't know, 3-4 hours, something like that, before we can basically begin to bring in support forces to join the battle. And that should be enough to defeat them in Zagreb. If he moves for Fiume on the left flank, that's a different story. Hussein Avni is a good commander, but the problem is these army corps, they've lost some elements, some regiments were destroyed at Cattaro. They can only, those forces can only be reconstructed really in a sort of depot. They have to be in a depot. They have to sit there for a period of time to be reconstructed. And the situation being what it is, we've not been in a position to be able to relieve an entire force to go back to Sarajevo. We've had to sit tight with the forces that we have. So this force is, I mean, it's 85,000 men still, but it's light. Yeah. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see what develops on the left. In the centre, Omar Pasha's force is beginning to sort of get itself in order. Obviously, those army corps which receive replacements actually receive a corresponding drop in their organisation and cohesion. I'm going to take one of these out, and I'm going to deposit that in a town to accelerate its reorganisation. Abu Karim Nadir still not activated, but that's fine. We're going to keep him in position. We've now got Osman Pasha, and we're going to give him command of the 1st Infantry Corps of that army. Yeah, that's it. We've got supplies moving up, obviously, towards Abu Karim. You know what I realised as well? Like an absolute dunce. I'm destroying railway networks, but our engineer forces are kind of, automatically repairing them. Hey, stuff like that happens in war as well, though. You get these kind of stupid things where different forces aren't given, are given a command or whatever. So yeah, our engineers are just automatically repairing the railroads that we're destroying, that other units are destroying. But that's not beyond the realms of reality. Actually, it is called the Drava. Okay. That's it. No reappearance of Radziecki on the right. Fine with that. And we're moving up smaller mobile forces now to try and kind of, maybe sort of scout a little bit, do some reconnoitering in the right flank, try and get some eyes. So we'll wait for that brigade to get up. And we've got a Cavalry Division, which I think we're going to keep in the centre for the time being as a kind of mobile reserve. That's it. We're not going to conduct any offensives this turn. Incidentally, the snow has returned. So, we had a really early, heavy snowfall in November, as early as November. Then we had some rainfall in January, and now we're back to really cold conditions again. Heavy snowfall, blanketing. Much of the Balkans actually, really, really hard weather. That's going to, slightly reduce our organisation and cohesion will regain. These forces are exposed, but we can't afford to shelter them in towns, frankly. They have to stay in the field. So the situation is what it is. No significant developments, however. What we are going to begin doing then is, I think we're in a position to now, is to begin the construction of our first coal mine. That leaves us with 350, and that is fine. But yeah, our first coal mine begins. And once that's completed, as I mentioned before, with a railway in Smyrna, that will have really decent efficiency. 15 days away now, 2 weeks away from the rail section in Bursa being completed, and then another section is 45 days away in Izmit. And I think we're going to start stockpiling some capital for a rail section at Zonderlag, or Zondeldag, and then down to Ankara. And both of those sections of rail line will be accompanied by coal mine extraction sites, which we'll begin developing there. And we're going to start developing the interior a little bit. Good round economically, for the most part, actually. Let's have a look. So yeah, we're buying coal and iron for the time being. Yeah, decent exports, fairly solid exports, but a real boost in domestic market sales. Now we militarily occupy sections of the Austrian Empire, and these sections have large populations. Zagreb and central Hungary. This is a populous region, densely populated region. As such, we shouldn't get too carried away with ourselves when we look at this and think, oh my god, 102 goods in the national market for 294. That's really, really good. And a part of that is going to be based on things like department stores, which is a sort of a kind of technology. It's a sort of technique, I suppose, based on the point of exchange, the exchange of commodities, which is centralized and sort of rationalized. So a part of that is on that basis, where we are going to see increased national market sales, but also it's much more simply because, we have more mouths to feed, sort of thing. These people are buying goods and commodities and services and whatnot. So yeah, 102 the national market, 80 exports. Now that is good. For 184, 28 merchandises for 64. Let's have a look at what we're exporting. We're starting to see a lot of kind of foodstuffs that we've just stockpiled. We just produce a lot more food than we can consume, and we have a lot basically set for export, sitting on the kind of export market. We can't even export at the moment more. Fish, however, that probably is about to change. Fruits, dyes remain consistent, and cotton and wool to Belgium and Denmark. That's nice. And then 6 units of cereals as well. Good stuff. Let's really quickly check our exports. Good round of tobacco then. Sold a little bit more than we might have needed to there. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's a good round on fish. And we need that because we've got like a daft amount of kind of fish stockpile. Okay. We've got conversion back on now, so we're getting quite a decent amount of preserved foods. We need more preserved foods or canned goods shops basically to start converting the air with, really pushing through dyes. Okay. Mechanical parts down to 34. God, that from a high watermark of well over 100 at one point. Yeah, let's check mechanical parts then. I don't think we actually have the technology yet, or the technique, or whatever, to actually build mechanical parts yet. So we're hammering through them. 28. So that's going to be 6, isn't it? 6 units. North Germany again. I fancy the UK though. Let's go with some 6 units of mechanical parts from the UK. Okay. We'll go with 7 so we can start building a little bit of a stockpile again. In case there's a shortage at some point. See, the UK is exporting dyes as well. Dyes is one of those things, we're shifting them. Really good. Let's check the main fleet, and I'd say the main fleet is good to go. So we're going to set to Obviously, heavy rainfall en route in the Adriatic, the Ionian, so it's going to be a rough old ride there. 14 days. I'll be surprised if they make that schedule, but we've got to move them out there. That obviously affects things like spotting and the likelihood of us being able to engage. That said, it always seems to be when the chance is most remote, that we manage to kind of engage a force. So, I think that force that we sunk was a cruiser. It was like a fast cruiser raiding force, that was probably coming back from maybe the Americas or Northern Europe. I think that's what that force was, because it was 4 frigates or 4 corvettes that we sunk, light ships. I get the feeling that's probably how the Austrian Navy is kind of configured. Excellent. So we've got our missions being built then in Tays, still unactivated. Fine, okay. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for us to do anything rash or silly here. I think one thing we will do, however, is relieve this force of maybe some field guns. Actually, no, let's just do that. Right, we've got a decent amount of state revenue, we've got some private capital to spare, we've got roads being put down in Qatar, Dubai, and let's complete a section of road works. Now, roads are 40, 40, and 5 manufactured goods. I'm okay with that. The purpose of this really is to kind of begin to consolidate this region in the Persian Gulf, raise the colonial penetration enough that we can convert these into formal colonies. I think that's the next step, really, for our kind of colonial projects in the Arabian Peninsula. Once that's done, we're going to begin the kind of mammoth task of really pacifying Hejaz. I say pacifying, we haven't had any major kind of insurgencies or revolts, but we're going to start building a road network and begin to consolidate this area properly. It's a protectorate. We're going to raise the colonial penetration enough so that we can move for formal colonization of the Hejaz, and then that sort of opens up the way, really. We've probably got quite good colonial penetration in a lot of large parts of sort of Yemen. But yeah, that opens the way then to fully consolidating and finishing the job in Yemen as well. And then we'll start looking at the Horn of Africa. We'll obviously be competing with Italy there. We'll probably leave Djibouti because I think the French kind of have a bit of an interest in Djibouti, and I think generating any kind of overlap for no real reason is not really desirable. Alright, good round economically. Let's just really quickly check our assets balance again, just to make sure that everything's being met. 2% inflation, 93,565.3 commodity stockpile, and happy with all of that. We'll really quickly check technology. So steel rouse implementation is an important next step. 55% modifier. That might be something we'll look at special investment in. Kind of, it's a strategic sort of thing, isn't it? We'll leave it for the moment. Let's quickly check our foreign ministry. Well, we refused Austria. And I think our state visits were refused as well, but France and Prussia didn't even reply. After being called, we rejected their peace proposal. Okay. Yeah, okay, I think it's going to be a case of passing turn. No, no offensive actions then. It's just, I think we're going to have to wait for them to come to us, sort of thing. We definitely aren't in a position to attack on the left. The real hope is they drop the ball, move for Zagreb. I think that we can hold out in Zagreb. I don't fancy our chances in Fiume. That's a large force that they could draw on. I mean, okay, Hussein Abni can also draw on probably 2 army corps in Zagreb as support. But I think he'd be outnumbered, frankly. We'll see what happens. He's dug in. He's got engineers. He's got plenty of guns. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll pass turn then to 87 national morale, 1 war weariness. Let's check Austria really quickly. 77. That's nice. what we want is really a big stinging victory. But if we can pull this off and make sure the left flank doesn't kind of fold, then yeah, the sort of path is open really. We've got one corps obviously in there to reorganise itself. Okay, I'm going to pass turn late Feb. I shall put on pause and see you in early March. Okay, welcome back then. Early March. No significant battle. There was a battle in Zagreb, but it was very small, but the Austrians have got a force in. Zagreb is good. We want them to go centre. That's exactly... Fiume would have been tricky, to tell you the truth, but that's a strategic mistake, and absolutely happy with that. We've got 2 army corps. Now, the engagement itself, it felt like it was on day 9. It felt like they were probably set to break off. They're really kind of sniffing out what the odds would have been. Now, combined forces, which is to say Omar Pasha's force on the flank, Hussein Avni, give us a sum total of, over 200,000 men. They've got 122,000 themselves, and we've got nearly 1,000 guns, heavily outnumbered. We actually suffer heavier casualties, but it's a very small engagement, 7,000, or maybe just under 8,000, and for them just under 4. So it was, a prodding engagement on day 9, but not a committed attack. But they have a force now assembled in Zagreb under Edward von Claude-Gallas. He's got a 20% command penalty, so the force is unwieldy. It's beyond really what his command points. I think he's a 2-star. I might be wrong, but 2 army corps, mixed brigades. It's a sizable enough force. They can't penetrate deeper than Zagreb, I don't think. I mean, they can move maybe to Slavonian, but then where do they get their supplies from? We're gonna do with these army corps in Zagreb is we're gonna fuse them. So the senior commander is Mehmet Vasif, and we will give command of one of the army corps. So that rationalizes our forces a little bit. It gives it a bit more concentration. Now that force is sufficient to hold, I think, at least until Hussein Avni or Omar Pasha. Now Omar Pasha is not going to be there forever, for obvious reasons. But I think it's good this is happening now. I think probably in the aftermath of this, if this is a successful defense and we're going to stay on the defense, we're set to hold at all costs, I think that's going to be our trigger to move, because this is where a lot of their forces are concentrating. Based on kind of, and we can see here, there's still military control 100%. Doesn't look like the Italians are pushing any deeper. Let's just check the diplomatic status, make sure that Austria is still actually at war with them. They haven't. Peace hasn't broken out. Yeah, still at war with Piedmont, Sardinia. But the Italians are not pushing in just yet. For, well, I guess reasons. As far as we can see, anyway. But there is signs of looting in Tyrol. That might be old, though. That might be as a result of other forces that have passed through the region. Right. Cavalry Division has made a landing, and that's pressing up towards Slavonia. Let's get this brigade, then, to the east. 5 days. We'll get that to enter the structure, because it's a small force, but it's quite badly, or it's now somewhat disorganized. So we want to get it to enter the structure and reorganize itself. 5 days, yeah, but it's moving in some really tough weather. We'll get the division up to Slavonia, that's 11 days, and we'll do the same. Get these guys to enter the structure. This force appears to be in Bihać, but it's not. This is also the case for example, no longer Mitrovic. Someone else has taken command then of the North Danube, Karl Ferdinand von Ostrich. Now, it's a considerable force that he has at his disposal. Again, that's a full-size army of, I'm guessing, 60 to 80,000, plus the reserves it can draw on from Vienna. Yeah, the moment is approaching. Put it that way. The moment is approaching. The fact that Radetzky's not remade an appearance is good. I think the precursor to the move on... What we need to do is we need to move Abdul Karim kind of beforehand, really. I mean, it would take 8 days and 8 days. Because we want basically a force to support the attack. if we can get Abdul Karim, that's not crossing the Danube, that's moving around it as well, to basically organise a feint to the right to engage Karl Ferdinand's force, and then Omar Pasha set to assault Vienna itself. That's what I'm thinking, but we're not ready yet. We need to address the situation on the left first. That might not be. I mean, the other option is move Abdul Karim to the west. That's 4 days, and get Omar Pasha to move into Steinmark. 8 days, and then Omar Pasha moves north with the support of Abdul Karim anchored basically in sort of Western Hungary. That's the other option. Not sure, not decided, but it's not going to happen this turn anyway. I mean, at the moment the weather's hideous. It's really, really bad. So any movement is going to incur dramatic organisational loss. What we really want is for our forces to arrive at the scene of contact in the best possible shape they can, and kind of marching them in the midst of a blizzard. That's not where it's at really. So I don't think yet. We're giving ourselves till May. We're in early March. I suspect there's going to be a significant engagement in Zagreb. It looks like they put out a feeler force, they made contact, broke off, but whatever the weather, they got their force into Zagreb, so possibly a big engagement next turn. We're going to keep our forces in place, exactly as they are for the time being. That's all we can do, I think. Yeah, keep our boys in place, keep them kind of anchored. We've got an army corps, which we can now put back into Hussein Avni's force. See, that looks really good now. That's a really nice combat factor that he's got. I mean, he could feasibly do that on his own now, I wonder. Could he? His force is good enough. That's a 2% combat penalty. Assault posture. 8 days. This force, Mehmed Pasha's force, has the support of Hussein Avni anyway. Early March, 1857. Eight days in tough weather. But like, if we leave it till the snow stops, what else is going to happen? What if we lose on the left? What if, we know that there's an army under Radetzky in the east somewhere? What if he makes a sudden appearance? What if he suddenly appears on the Danube? What if he's marching around here or something crazy like that? So, and once we have Vienna, we have it. It's all very well waiting for the snows to stop, and certainly bad weather was responsible for the Ottoman Empire's previous attempts to take Vienna. It was in really hideous weather, just like this. It's like the ghosts of our past, but we can't just kind of sit here until May. It's early March. I don't think it's going to go from snow to completely perfect flat ground, like good weather from early to late March. There'll be a period of rain and sludge and that sort of thing. So we're going to be sitting here for what? 4 weeks. Early April, and then we got April showers. You might have a really sort of long kind of spring. I think we might go now. Omar Pasha's force is in excellent shape. Plus, a really large Austrian force has moved south, so that can't support. I mean, if that force was in Steinmark, that'd be a different story, wouldn't it? Okay, let's do it. Goodnight, Vienna. I still like this idea as well, though. 8 days. 8 days and 8 days. Yeah. Where did that brigade go? Let's force march the Cavalry Division if we can. 35% long odds. Because once Abu Karim's up there, that's basically the That's kind of the east bank of the Danube, isn't it? Completely exposed. But it will take them a turn to clock that. So 8 days. It's not going to get better than this, I don't think. I mean, okay, it's really dreadful weather to move in. But we know there's another army. At least another army under the command of a first-rate general. And he's a really good defensive general. You know, and we don't know where it is or what it's doing. So if we make a move now, once we have Vienna, we have it. You know what I mean? And yeah, okay, that's it. Early March, we're doing it. We're doing it now because in the last analysis, you know, what if Russia declares war next turn? Let's just check that actually. You know, what if we don't know what's going to happen? We can't just kind of sit around. Austria, Bavaria, and Baden. So Bavaria and Baden are non-entities. They're Austrian clients. So it's Austria and its satellites basically. Yeah, we're going to do this. Coal extraction begun. Good. Incidentally, just as an aside, it's something historical that's happening. It looks like the Indian Mutiny has kicked off. During the past term, we're getting reports of massive kind of clashes in northern India, and we can see actually areas going over to the kind of rebels. So yeah, British are going to have their hands full. That's the other thing as well, because Britain, I mean, we don't have any formal agreement with Britain, but I'd imagine even the AI would probably kind of factor in relations and stuff like that. They're much, you know, Britain's our closest big power, big Western power. Really, with them tied up, you know, Russia might think, okay, and Russia looks like it's, you know, it's really wrapping up. Yeah, they got Stockholm blockaded. Actually, it's not blockaded. This is because of ice. These are cold weather ports. Yeah. But anyway, it looks like Russia's wrapping up the Scandinavia campaign. Let's just check Russia. What Russia's up to. Yeah, they got good relations with Austria. Yeah, I think we go now. It's a kind of now or never thing, I think. Okay, let's check the economy. Okay. That looks decent enough. Let's check our assets balance. I'm anxious now. I'm feeling anxiety. Steel is good. We're actually recouping some mechanical parts. 7 imports, we only need 6. We're recouping 1 per turn, and there we go. I just looked at opium production. Yes, very nice indeed. That's Bursa opened up, and that gives us a little bit of life. We've got a preserved food shop. Pretty low productivity, even with a railroad, actually. But yeah, it takes up 1 preserved food. Generates 1 manufactured goods. We need stuff that's actually going to eat manufactured goods now, though. Just nearing completion. That'll take up 2 and generate 4 luxury goods, but at a cost of coal, mineral wood. We might generate another luxury goods shop in Izmit, you know. I won't think about that. 30 days remain with the Izmit stretch. We've not even begun any other stretches of railroad. So we need to start thinking about developing our rails. But yeah, it's really nice now. We can actually see our railroads developing. You know, it's not nearly as significant as what Austria has or, you know, Western Europe. But yeah, I'll settle for that. We're in the game. We're in the railroad game. That's the main thing. Still pushing a lot of fish, cereals, dyes, chemicals, tobacco. 4, 5, 6 units of tobacco. Nice. Let's just check this again real quick. Yeah, fish is okay. We are shifting fish though, which is good. Right, happy with all that. This is it then, I guess. This is it. Probably a fairly significant battle in Zagreb. Yeah. and Omar Pasha, he's going for assault, so he's going to be clearing the area around Vienna and then moving into the city and looking to clear the entire city. The city's going to be supported by Karl Ferdinand, although Karl Ferdinand simultaneously is going to be engaged on the right flank by Abu Karim Nadir. So yeah, that leaves Hungary virtually empty, but we could very quickly detach forces if this comes off. You know, I mean, if they fail, they fall back. But yeah, that's it, Omar Pasha. You've done pretty well. You're now being called upon to do that which evaded, Suleiman himself. So take it away. Right, economy's good. Quickly check through this. War scores constantly increasing. Yeah, that's it. Let's just check Austria's national morale. 78. Ours is 86. Okay. Time to pass turn, I guess. It's going to be big. I'll make sure I haven't missed something. Look at that, like that, for example. Conservative attack. No, all-out attack. Pressburg's not a fort, neither is Vienna. Probably in the immediate aftermath, Abu Karim will move immediately back down to the East Bank if it comes off. You know what I'm thinking as well? Let's remove one division. Six days. Let's actually attack that force. We don't want to sit there and wait for that force. Let's move on it. Let's move on it. Let's absolutely push them. Push them on the left, centre and right. All out attack. In the worst weather conceivable. But I don't want to sit tight. We know the Austrians have got other forces. There's no point sitting there waiting for them to position those forces in a perfect way. That's going to make any operations that we have planned even more complicated. So it's now or never, I think. If it doesn't come off, we'll take a piece, a white piece, I think. Brilliant. Let's check the main fleet. Why is this happening? Come on. Okay, that's good. Right, I'm going to put you on pause, past turn. See you in late March. Fingers crossed. Okay, welcome back. Late March, 1857. And let's have a look at what happened. On the right, Abu Karim Nadir never gets to leave Eastern Hungary. He's engaged by an Austrian attempt to force our right wing, which fails. Big battle. We take 11,000 casualties, inflict nearly 40, and take I don't know, 1,600 prisoners, 160 companies, 16,000. I can't figure it out. 1,600. No, 16,000, I think. Yeah, it's 16,000 prisoners. Good God. So yeah, it destroyed a number of elements. In fact, almost a core worth of elements. A big battle in tough weather, and that was Albert von Ostrich, who presumably moved from the north. Austrian left hook, but we hold central Hungary here. We also capture enough prisoners that we actually can construct an Austro-Hungarian or Austrian or state of origin Hungarian. So we've kind of captured basically a HQ asset unit, and around that we can build a Hungarian army corps, which is beginning construction in Hungary now. So yeah, Hungarian loyalists. What else happens? Omar Pasha moves up into Vienna. And clears the surrounding area, clears the town over 5 hours. We take 4,000 casualties, inflicts 21,000 casualties, we take 13,000 prisoners. In heavy weather, but yeah, it's a 5-hour clearing of the city, basically, which is not a fortified city. But we have taken Vienna for the first time in our history. Third attempt. Third time lucky and all that. Now, it's a little hunky-dory. On the left, the Austrians make a big... Well, the Austrians had a force in Zagreb, and our attempt to counter that did not come off. Despite having kind of force parity, really, a slight advantage. We only lose 20,000 casualties, but take a big disorganizational loss. We destroy one of their heavy cavalry regiments, inflicts 12,000. But it is a defeat. Hussein Abdi on the left dropped the ball. It's a 2-hour engagement. And that, I mean, you only need to look at the map to see that puts us in a precarious position on the left. Especially with Hungary and with the possibility of Omar Pasha getting pinched off. The Austrians have moved to Trieste and they're besieging Trieste. That's sort of good. That lifts a bit of pressure from Hussein Abdi, whose force now needs to recover. The two army corps that were in Zagreb fell back. In retrospect, I think we should have just stayed on the defensive there, to tell you the truth. Anyway, we didn't. Now, there was a really, really concerted Austrian attempt to retake Vienna immediately before this became, before they could. It had to be announced really that the city was lost, and it was a big battle. They outnumber us. We have 90,000 troops. They have 130. They even have more guns, and it's a big battle that we win. Again, we destroy an army corps worth of regiments, inflict 42,000 casualties, take 7,600 prisoners, lose 30,000 ourselves. So it wasn't cheap, and it was a light cavalry regiment. And that's a 3-hour combat. That's a big fight. Against commanders that I'm not familiar with. Well, Mitrovic, obviously. Eugen Rastislav von Mitrovic, and then Franz von Schick, who I'm not familiar with. Friedrich von Liechtenstein, okay, Liechtenstein I am. So yeah, okay. But that's it. We took Vienna in late March 1857. I think the first port of call is Goodnight, Vienna. It looks like the Imperial Army College just vacated, evacuated. I suppose it's not really a physical thing, it's comprised of staff, isn't it? That get out of the city. It's going to be hard holding it. There's an Austrian force, Presburg, that outnumbers us 2-1. There's mixed Austrian forces around Vienna. We don't have a supporting force in Buda. There's an Austrian force in Krym, Austrian army in Krym, and one in Zagreb. Their three main concentrations are here. Plus Radetzky down here somewhere. But that's it. That's a wrap. We took Vienna. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.